EOLOGY. What is ideology? Pakistan. Short history. Science of ideas, visionary speculations, manner of thinking, characteristic of a class or individual, ideas on the basis of some economic, social or political theory or system is called ideology. It contains those ideals, which a nation strives to accomplish in order to bring stability to its nationhood. Ideology is a plan or program which is based upon philosophy. George Lewis, Ideology of Pakistan. Pakistan is an ideological state and the ideology of Pakistan is an Islamic ideology. Its basic principle being, the only sovereigner is Allah. Islam acted as a nation-building force before the establishment of Pakistan. Ideology of Pakistan basically means that Pakistan should be a state where the Muslims should have an opportunity to live according to the faith and creed based on the Islamic principles. They should have all the resources at the disposal to enhance Islamic culture and civilization. Quaid-e-Azam once said, Pakistan was created the day the first Indian national entered the field of Islam. From the above statement, it is clear that ideology of Pakistan is an Islamic state. Two-nation concept. The fundamental concept of ideology is that Muslims should get a separate identity. They should have a separate state where they could live according to Islamic rules and principles, profess their religion freely and safeguard Islamic tradition. On one occasion Quaid-e-Azam said, the Muslims demand Pakistan where they can rule in accordance with their own system of life, the cultural development, the traditions and Islamic laws. Thus, this fundamental concept of ideology led to the concept of two nations in the subcontinent and resulted in the formation of Pakistan. 20. Ever Success General Knowledge Sard Book Bank, Lahore. Pakistan Movement. Need for a separate homeland. Hindus and Muslims had lived peacefully together in India for centuries, but after the British invasion in South Asia and their undue support to Hindus, life became very difficult for Indian Muslims. In fact, the Muslims were a separate nation who always adhered to their religious identity. The British and the Hindus, in spite of the great efforts, could not put a wedge into the Muslim unity and their love for the national character. The creation of Pakistan owes much to this feeling of adherence to their national image and religious identity. Some factors creating the idea of a separate homeland. 1. Desire to establish an Islamic state. Islam is a complete code of life for the Muslims and they are eager to implement it in the personal and collective life. Islamic code of life or Islamic ideology cannot be implemented until a pure Islamic society free from all other un-Islamic influences is established. The desire to establish an Islamic state was also one of the factors to demand a separate homeland. 2. Two-nation theory. The two-nation theory played an important role for demanding a separate homeland, according to which Hindus and Muslims are the two nations and therefore they cannot live together. Quaid-e-Azam once said, Hindus and Muslims, though living in the same towns and villages, had never been blended into one nation. They were always two separate entities. So the Muslims should have a separate state where they could lead their individual and collective life in accordance with the Islamic principles. 3. Historical collusion. Hindu and Muslim historical collusion started when Muhammad bin Qasim, defeating Raja Dahir, founded Islamic government in the subcontinent. Many battles were fought between Hindus and Muslims under Muslim rule. The historical collusion continued also during the British regime. Hindus, cooperating with British, tried to diminish Muslim culture and their way of life, but they remained futile. The future of Muslims was obvious in such condition. Therefore they decided to demand for the separate homeland. 4. Hindus and British. Since the British snatched power from Muslims, they were doubtful about the faithfulness of Muslims. So Hindus and British joined hands to destroy the 21. Ever Success General Knowledge Sard Book Bank, Lahore. Muslims morally, socially, economically and politically. They reserved all higher civil, judicial and military appointments for British only, while Muslims were debarred from all official positions. The Islamic educational system was replaced by British one. Then Muslims were forced to change their religion to Christianity and were compelled to send the children to co-educational institutes and abandon Purdah. This was the reason that Muslims became fed up with both British and Hindus and decided to have a separate homeland. 5. British parliamentary system. Indian National Congress demanded the British parliamentary system of government in India, which meant majority rule. The implementation of this simply meant the Hindus' slavery of Muslims since they were in majority. This was the reason that Muslims stressed on separate electorates and got it accepted. Separate electorate was the first brick in the foundation of demand for separate homeland. 6. Shudi and Sangathan movement. Hindu-Muslim unity evaporated in the year after the Khilafat movement and Hindu-Muslim riots began. The poison of differences between the two nations aggravated with the passage of time. The differences reached to the peak when Shudi and Sangathan movements began. The Shudi movement aimed at the mass conversion of certain backward groups of Muslims into Hindus by force, whereas the Sangathan program sought to organize the Hindus into a militant force to fight with the Muslims. 7. Activities of Mahar Sabha. Mahar Sabha was established in 1900. It was a non-political party until the Shudi and Sangathan movement started. These movements motivated Mahar Sabha to be involved in politics. It proved to be the worst enemy of Muslims. The party declared Muslims as outsiders and said that Muslims have no relation with India. If they want to leave it, then they could leave it happily, but if they want to leave it, then they could leave it happily, but if they want to live in India, they will have to accept Hindu Mat. So it was impossible for Hindus and Muslims to live in a country together. 22. Ever Success General Knowledge Sard Book Bank, Lahore. 8. Protection of Urdu language. Urdu was considered to be the language of Muslims in the subcontinent. In 1867, the Hindu-Urdu controversy began with some outstanding Hindus of Benares demanding replacements of Urdu by Hindi as the court language. The supporters of Hindi claimed for it a national status, whereas the Muslims hotly denied it. As the controversy spread, the two languages became more and more exclusive. Muslims got very disappointed when in April 1900 Governor Sir Anthony MacDonald gave Hindi the status of national language with Urdu. That is why Muslims felt the need to set a political party. Then, after a detailed discussion, at last All India Muslim League was established in 1906. Maulvi Abdul Haq (1870–1961) has rightly said, Urdu language placed the first brick in the foundation of Pakistan. It is a reality that it was one of the major reasons for demanding a separate country. 9. Protection of Muslim culture. Hindus, with the consent of British during the Congress ministries, burnt and looted the properties and houses of Muslims. Moreover, the signs of Muslims' past glory were damaged. Educational syllabus was changed. Urdu was replaced by Hindi and the Muslim students were forced to worship statues of Gandhi in the schools. The Muslims of India, therefore, decided that the Muslim culture could be protected in a free and separate Muslim state. 10. Narrow-mindedness of Hindus. Hindu is a narrow-minded nation who does not believe the philosophy of equality. They consider themselves superior and used to call Muslims, Malich, impure. There was no concept of eating and drinking together. Furthermore, Muslims were not allowed to touch the food items of Hindus. There was only way out for the Muslims to demand a separate homeland. 11. Economic hardships. During the period of British government, Hindus practically threw out Muslims from the fields of trade and industry. All the business, industrial and services opportunities were occupied by Hindus and some degraded jobs were left for the Muslims. Muslims of India became the political slave of British and economic slave of Hindus. To come out from this vicious circle, at last Muslims decided to demand for a separate homeland. 23. Ever Success General Knowledge Sard Book Bank, Lahore. 12. Congress ministries. During the period of Congress ministries, 1937–1939. Hindus did worst possible injustice with Muslims. The Hindu-Muslim riots were usual during the Congress rule. Bandi Mataram, three-colored flag and statue of Gandhi were introduced at national level. Urdu was replaced by Hindi and slaughtering cow was banned. Muslim leaders showed their resentment before Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, plainly and openly said that there were only two nations in India. Congress and British, and the rest should follow them. After this statement, nothing left for Muslims but to present Pakistan Resolution in 1940. Role of students in Pakistan movement. Muslim students played an important role in Pakistan movement. The modern Muslim student is a post-1857 phenomenon. He is directly or indirectly a product of Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's movement for the promotion of modern education amongst the Muslims, popularly known as the Aligarh movement. Aligarh students became the pace-setters in behavior and dress for the rest of Muslim India. Young men from the Punjab, Bengal, Madras, Sindh, KP, Up, Bombay and Hyderabad lived for years at Aligarh as students under the same roof, played on the same fields, wore the same uniform and developed a remarkable homogeneity. They thus laid, unconsciously or consciously, the foundation of a nation which was to demand and get a homeland in later years. After the end of Khilafat movement, the political situation in the country was rapidly changing.